A warm welcome to those joining us today in the gallery and online for the April 26th Council meeting. I'd like to commence with an acknowledgement of country. Wodonga Council acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the first peoples of the country. We also acknowledge them as traditional owners and custodians across various lands. We pay our respects to their ancestors, elders, children and young people. We acknowledge the strength and resilience of all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and recognise their continuous connections to lands, waters and communities across the country. Agenda item 2 is apologies, leave of absence and attendance by electronic means. We've got Councillor Quilty joining us by electronic means. Could I please have a motion for the motion regarding permission for Councillor Quilty to attend by electronic means? Moved by Councillor Knight, seconded by Councillor Hall. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 3 is the Good Governance Pledge, and Councillor Knight has volunteered to read that.
It's the April the 27th.
Oh, sorry, I meant April 2026. But I am aware it's the 27th.
Wodonga councillors have committed to 1, undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the municipal community. 2, abide by the councillor code of conduct and uphold the standards of conduct set out in the model councillor code of conduct. And 3, faithfully and impartially carry out and exercise the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in the office of councillor under Local Government Act 2020 and any other act to the best of their skill and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. Agenda item 4 is declaration of conflict of interest. And I'd like to declare 2 conflicts of interest. First one being a general conflict of interest for agenda item 9.6. As previously declared, I have relatives that participate in that petition. And agenda item 15.6, which is again a general conflict of interest in relation to that item on the basis that a private interest could be seen to be perceived to influence the way I perform my public duty in relation to the matter, and hence I will not be participating in discussion or decision making on that item. Any other declarations of interest?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In relation to item 15.5, in confidential, which is the minutes of the CEO Employment and Remuneration Advisory Committee, I have a material conflict of interest and will leave the meeting for the discussion and the vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CEO. Agenda item 5 is confirmation of the minutes from the previous meeting. There's a recommendation before us. We have a mover. Councillor Hall, a seconder. Councillor Knight. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 6 is question time, and my understanding is there are no questions.
Correct.
Likewise, agenda item 7, petitions. There are no petitions.
Correct.
Agenda item 8, there's no delegates' reports, which then leads us into the body of the agenda, which is agenda item 9, reports for determination. And the first item there is 9.1, the Wodonga Golf Cup, application to extend alternate public holiday. I'd like to invite Director Ryan there to speak to that item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report presents a request from Racing Wodonga for Council to support a 5-year extension of the alternate public holiday to align with the Wodonga Golf Cup for the period 2027 to 2031 in lieu of the Melbourne Cup public holiday. Council has supported this arrangement since 2014, with each extension subsequently approved and gazetted by the Minister. The report outlines the background, legislative requirements and proposed dates and seeks Council's endorsement to formally apply to the Minister for Small Business. The recommendation before Council is to provide certainty for the community, schools, businesses and event organisers by endorsing the extension consistent with Council's previous approach. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ryan. Councillor Aldridge.
Yeah, I'd like to move on to the motion.
Yes, Councillor Aldridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The alternative motion is as per the recommendation with an addition. that if approved by the Minister or their delegate, that the day be retitled to Wodonga Day or any other agreed title from 2027 to 2031.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. I've got a mover. Do you have a second for that? Councillor Caroline, thank you very much. Councillor Aldridge, would you like to speak to that motion, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While I'm not personally a big fan of horse racing, I absolutely recognise the economic and social value that the Wodonga Golf Cup brings to our city. The data clearly shows how important this day is for local businesses, hospitality, accommodation, and the broader regional economy. It also remains a strong social event that many in our business and general community look forward to each year. For those reasons, I support the extension of the alternate public holiday. Providing certainty over the next 5 years allows our schools, businesses and event organisers to plan with confidence, and it aligns with the approach this council has taken in previous terms. I do want to acknowledge a conversation that has come up before, and one that is important to me, around how we might evolve the identity of this day in the future. I would love to see us move towards something more inclusive, something that celebrates Wodonga as a whole. A concept like Wodonga Day has real potential to broaden community participation and activation beyond a single horse racing event. Something for families who don't want to take part in a horse racing event. I understand that renaming isn't part of tonight's decision and the public holiday itself can proceed regardless of any future branding discussions. But I just wanted to flag my support for continuing that conversation so that this day can become even more meaningful for our whole community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. Councillor Cowan is the second.
I'm going to say it, thanks.
Reserve. Other councillors. Councillor Crotty and then Councillor Hall.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question to the mover, Councillor Aldridge, about the alternative motion. Councillor Aldridge, thank you for moving the alternative motion. You have explained your motivation here very clearly. I have one question. I understand you're wanting to introduce Wodonga Day. Why on this particular, why in connection to this particular event? Why not? We have a number of events happening in Wodonga. Why this event rather than any different one? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Quilty. I think this is probably more about answering to a section of our community that don't support the day at all. So for us to find a balance between the community, to me, this seems like a really great compromise that we can allow the businesses that really do require the economic benefit of the Gold Cup public holiday to exist, to be able to continue, whilst then giving an alternative option for community groups to be able to organise community-led events based around the day. So in my mind, it's just talking to two sections of the community. It's basically trying to find a good deal for both parties.
Okay, so do I understand correctly that you are proposing renaming this particular day and having more a Wodonga celebration rather than horse racing because of the large community group or large group being against horse racing?
I think it's more just about having the option there for community groups who do want to be able to do something on the day. I'm not proposing that council run any events on the day. It's more of an opportunity for inclusivity. And, you know, Wodonga Day, as I put forward in the alternate motion or any other agreed title. Tonight, my understanding is whether we it doesn't actually affect, you know, deciding upon a name tonight if the public holiday will go ahead or not. You know, it's something that can come up later down the track, is my understanding.
Thanks, Councillor Aldridge. Councillor Hall.
Did Councillor Oldham,
Yes.
of course, you want to speak to it, right?
Councillor Quilty, have you finished? Did you want to speak to that or just satisfied with the question and answer? at this point?
I don't know yet, but I'm happy to listen to the rest of the debate. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Quilty. Councillor Hall.
Yeah, okay. Look, I'm happy to support Councillor Aldrich's motion. We have a choice of the Melbourne Cup public holiday, because if we don't support the Wodonga Cup, it'll just revert back to the Melbourne Cup. And I support having a local event in Wodonga, in the Wodonga Golf Cup public holiday. The race, you know, is well attended, and it provides lots of opportunities for businesses. And it's at a great time of year where a lot of businesses do use it as a Christmas party type of event for the staff. I've attended many times, and I would like to keep it going. So, you know, the community can choose to decide how they want to use this public holiday, whether they, you know, go to the races, or whether they decide to do something else, or whether, you know, they put a Wodonga Day event up. So I'm happy to support it. It sort of suits and fits with most people in the community, I would say.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Any other councillors? Councillor Mildred.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Wodonga Golf Cup has become a significant local event because there's a public holiday in Wodonga and not everywhere else in the state. It's obviously more local than anything else. But it is a significant local event, and it's evolved and grown quite significantly in the last few years, 6, 7, 8 years. And I think it's reached a point in time where there's an opportunity for the racing club to actually reach out into the community and embrace the community as part of this process now. I think what the motion that's been moved here, I probably see a different slant on it. I see a different opportunity. I see a case where the race club could actually be the leaders in our community on this and actually engage in the wider community that probably aren't connected with racing and may not be connected with the actual race day. So I see that as an opportunity. I also see that as something that I think might be in the best interest of the race club too, because if the day were to take off and become something different, then we might diminish the race day as well. So there's a whole lot of things in that. But as a principle, I think the idea of engaging the whole of Wodonga because it's a public holiday is a reasonably good thing to be doing. So I'll support the motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mildred. Any other councillors? I'm also going to speak before I go to Councillor Cowan's right of reply and then going to Councillor Aldridge. Sorry for reserving the right, sorry. Councillor Quilty, do you have any other, you've asked a question, but do you have a comment you would like to make?
Maybe a quick one since you've asked me, Mr. Mayor. Look, I am and I have been up to a point on the fence about this, and Councillor Mildred mentioned that it renaming the day might take away from the horse racing, or on the other hand, it may not. I don't know. Not a fan of horse racing myself, but not in opposition to it is. I just don't sort of ignore the horse racing even if I'm at the races. And yes, I think that the arguments about it being a big day, a day, a public holiday, and a day for all residents is a convincing argument. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Quilty. I'll just make some comments before going to Councillor Cowan and then Councillor Aldridge. Clearly, Wodonga Cup's become a huge social event. In fact, I would say it's the most significant and most iconic social event in Wodonga's calendar. And that's evidenced by the huge number of people that now turn out for Wodonga Golf Cup, with numbers having quadrupled over the last 12 years. I think it's a credit to those involved in that. But I do see this motion as being a win-win for our community, for the race club, for the event, and for the broader community. And I'll be supporting the motion. Councillor Cowan, for your reserving your right of response.
Thank you. Look, as councillors, we have a responsibility to represent the interests of our community and to consider the diversity of views within it. And look, I've taken that responsibility quite seriously. I've sought feedback in a number of ways through conversations, through listening to different perspectives. And I also undertook a community survey, which I had over 220 responses to. But what the feedback showed me, and there was great support for the Wodonga Golf Cup, was that this day has different meanings to different people. In some instances, it is all about the Wodonga Golf Cup, but in others, it's about taking a day off or spending time with family. And in some, there was horse racing and gambling that was simply not supported. So I think that's important to acknowledge. And if by getting this motion across the line, if by naming it Wodonga Day helps to do that, I think that serves the purpose well, and it supports the ambition of the Racing Wodonga in continuing this great event. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan and Councillor Aldridge. Right, reply.
Nothing further to add, Mr Mayor.
If that's the case, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. Agenda item 9.2 is the proposed sale of lot 2 PS 919831G, termination of contract of sale. There's a recommendation there before us, but Director Mulderry, did you want to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Item 9.2 relates to the proposed termination of a contract of sale for industrial land at Logic. The report outlines the background to the original sale, the contractual obligations that apply to the purchaser, and the basis on which the obligations have not been met. The recommendation before Council is to authorise the issue of a default notice under contract, and if the default is not remedied, to end the contract in accordance with its terms. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. There's a recommendation before us. Who the mover? Councillor Knight, moving as recommended.
Yes.
Seconder to that. Councillor Cowan. Councillor Knight, would you like to speak to that?
Only that this has obviously gone on for quite a while, and this will draw it all to a close.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. Councillor Cowan.
I think I'd like to point out to the community, while this is just pointing outcome for our community, we do have a 10% deposit, of a deposit in the bank that will help to offset some of the legal costs that will be attributed to this particular termination of the contract of sale. And we really have no other choice. I can see through the evidence provided to us by the officers.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Other councillors, Councillor Milton.
Question, please, Mr.
Question, yes. Councillor Milton.
Just as a matter of housekeeping, did the council actually give notice to the purchaser that the council had failed to meet the subdivision registration deadline?
Through you, Mr Mayor. Council were in contact with the purchaser during that period and did notify a number of times about progress of to meet obligations. So we're notified we did not meet obligations, and also when we did meet our obligations, they were notified as well.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Councillor Milton. Any other councillors? Councillor Hall.
Yeah, look, it's disappointing when a land sale falls through. It's never something that we like to have to deal with, but the council's decision to issue a default notice under the contract of sale with the company because they didn't meet their obligations under the contract will allow us to move forward. And as Councillor Cowan said, there is a deposit that will, I suppose, eventually come back to us for the default. So it allows us to move on and put the land back up for sale and possibly, hopefully, get another buy.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Any other councillors? If not, I'll go back to the mover for a right of reply.
No.
Right, then I'll put the motion. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Knight. Agenda item 9.3 is the proposed sale of land at Logic to AusNet Electricity Services Pty Limited. Again, Director Mulderry, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Item 9.3 seeks council's decision to proceed with the sale of a small parcel of land at Logic for AusNet Electrical Services. The report summarises the outcomes of the required public notice process, confirms no submissions were received, and outlines how the sale supports critical electrical infrastructure to enable ongoing industrial development at Logic. The recommendation is to authorise the Chief Executive Officer to finalise the sale. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Director. There is a recommendation there before us. Do you have a mover for that? Councillor Cowan in seconder, Councillor Hall. Councillor Cowan, did you want to speak to that?
Oh, thank you. This has gone out for public exhibition. There was no submissions coming back to that, but I will say that this is important electricity infrastructure that will help to service Baranduda North and the wider area, and that's my ward, and I'm very supportive of that opportunity, and I think this is a good use of that odd piece of land.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Councillor Hall is the seconder.
No, I have nothing to add to that because it's all been said. It's pretty straightforward. She's coming back. It's been out. It's come back. There's no submission. Then now we just decide to adopt.
Any other councillors? If not, did you want any closing comments there, Councillor Cowan? No? I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 9.4 is the Kerribana Primary School zone speed limits reconsideration of council's resolution. If I call on Director Mulderry to speak to that and then for the councillors.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 9.4 relates to council's resolution of 15 December 2025 regarding school zone speed limits in the vicinity of Kerribana Primary School. The report advises council the Department of Transport and Planning has stated the previously proposed approach does not comply with the speed zone policy and cannot be approved. It therefore seeks a further council decision on a revised school speed zoning approach that is compliant with the state policy and capable of authorisation. The recommendation is for council to remake its resolution accordingly. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Dr. Mulderry. Councillor Cowan, you have your hand up.
Thank you. I'd like to move the recommendation.
Councillor Cowan moving. Do I have a second? Councillor Aldridge. Thank you. Councillor Cowan, would you like to speak to me?
Yes, thank you. Look, I'll be supporting the recommendation because I want to be clear, my position actually hasn't changed. I voted with the recommendation that was put to us originally, and that was for a 30-kilometre school zone because it aligned with the officer's advice and the state policy, and most importantly, because it prioritised safety. I cannot accept that we wouldn't do everything we can to maximise safety around our school zones, and that actually has to be our starting point. So I'm very comfortable with this recommendation. I ask fellow councillors to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Councillor Aldridge is the seconder.
Thank you. I have to say this one's a little bit frustrating. Council made a clear decision in December based on what we believe was appropriate for our community. And yet here we are being told that that decision can't proceed because it doesn't align with state policy. It does raise the question of what role we genuinely play in these decisions when another level of government can simply override them. It also creates a challenge for us in terms of consistency. What's being proposed here doesn't align with school zones at a number of our other schools, and that makes it a harder message to explain to our community. I feel our hands are somewhat tied. If we want to see improved safety outcomes around Kerribana Primary School, we need to work within the framework that's in front of us. And at the end of the day, the safety of our children has to be the priority. And if this is the pathway that allows us to actually deliver lower speeds and safer conditions around the school, then I'm prepared to support it. But I do think there's a broader conversation to be had about how much say local communities really have in decisions like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. I'm going to open up to other councillors. Councillor Hall.
Yeah, look, I supported to keep it at 40 to keep the consistency, like Councillor Aldridge has said, with other school zoned areas. And I do find, having a look on the Transport Vic website, a bit confusing because it sort of says 40 k's on arterial roads. Okay, so it's okay, you could say around the school it's not an arterial road, but it says local streets next to a school and areas where school children cross the road. But the areas where they're saying are around where there's undeveloped. So what happens when it gets developed and there's a school crossing on the other side? You know, do we revert back to 40? I mean, I think it's really, I think we had it right. Keep it uniform across the city. Most of the areas where it's talking about keeping it 30 is like undeveloped land, you know. So yeah, I don't think I'll be supporting it at this stage.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Knight.
I concur with Councillor Aldridge. This is a very frustrating situation we find ourselves in exactly that. We're asked to do something and then told that, no, what you're doing is wrong. You really need to do something else. And I'll just read the application table 15 policy interpretation. The speed zoning policy differentiates between mandatory and discretionary requirements through the use of terms shall and should. Its interpretation section of the policy confirming that shall denotes a mandatory requirement, whereas should denotes a recommended but not mandatory outcome. And the way most of us read that was that we should have a 30-kilometre-hour speed limit, not a shall, which means that we're not enforced to do it. It seems to be that we seem to slow down people more and more and more, and we're getting slower and slower. At least it'll save us fuel and Albanese will be happy. But it is a very frustrating situation, but it should be noted that council, this isn't a council decision. This has been made by the DTP and not by council, and we are just being forced to agree with it.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. Other councillors? Councillor Milton.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Fundamentally, this is a disgusting outcome. We shouldn't be put in this position ever. With the state of the policy stuff in regard to these things at the state level is such an absolute mess. It's all over the place. There's no clear understanding of what this is all about. There's so many different agendas that are driving how these sorts of positions get reached. It's just appalling. What's even worse is if it is a mandatory requirement, then why come to council and ask? Just do it. It's as simple as that. We shouldn't be even asked to have any discretion. We get put into an insidious position where we make a decision, we go out to the public and we consult and we get the feedback from the public and we do what the public want us to say and do, and then we get told by bureaucrats, faceless bureaucrats, that no, sorry, you can't do that. We don't think that's the right answer. This is just not good enough. So from my point of view, we should not be backing away from the resolution that we previously passed, and we should be saying to the state government, okay, you want to do something different, you go and do it and you take the consequences and responsibility, not us. It's as simple as that. This is appalling. And for this sort of nonsense to come out of a state government, they should be stronger and better equipped and better prepared on all of these sorts of policies instead of like shooting a gun at a page and everywhere a pallet arrives, we have this different policy outcome and they're all interrelated. It's just nonsense. Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll be voting against this policy.
Pretty clear. Thank you, Councillor Milton. Any other councillors? If I could just make some comments prior to going back to Councillor Callan for a right of reply. I absolutely empathise with Councillor's frustration regarding the ambiguity of the language, the shall versus the should and the may. And I think it's very unclear. It's ambiguous, and I think is very much open to interpretation and creates confusion. Having said that, I can't move past the letter provided by DTP, dated the 27th of April, using the word shall be. And I look at this in the context of potential negligence in the event that we were to have an accident there or some sort of tragic incident. And the fact that I think it would be on notice if we didn't take the advice of the letter dated from DTP. So we clearly don't want anything to occur there, but in the event that something were to happen, I'd be very concerned about the legal risk that council would be exposed to in the event that we didn't follow the advice from the DTP. Councillor Melvin, yes.
If we're not making the decision and the decision's actually a decision that's made by the department, how do we carry any risk?
I think that's a good question, and I'm not a lawyer, but I'm not prepared to test it myself. So I'll be voting in favour of the motion. We're going to go to Councillor Cowan as the mover.
Thank you. And I do acknowledge and understand the concern about consistency and the confusion with the policy and the roles that we all play in this situation. But the reality is that this is a very high risk environment, and the approach that we are asked to follow tonight is the state's speed zoning policy. What shouldn't be confusing at all to any of councillor is that safety around schools is our priority. A 30-kilometre-hour limit on roads directly abutting the school provides the highest level of protection where children are most at risk. And importantly, this is the only approach that will be approved and enforceable. So this really isn't choosing between 30 or 40. It's about choosing something that is compliant and deliverable and that maximises safety.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. I'm now going to put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Councillor Knight, Councillor Aldridge, Councillor Goble, Councillor Cowan. All those against? Councillor Hall, Councillor Mildren, Councillor Quilty. The motion is carried. Thank you. Agenda item 9.5 is the Baranduda Boulevard, Jennings Boulevard proposed intersection upgrades and related improvements. I'm going to again go to Director Mulderry to speak to the item and then move to councillors.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The item responsible matter raised on the urgent business council meeting on 23rd of March 2026, which requests an officer report on pedestrian safety infrastructure coordination in the vicinity of Kerribana Primary School. The report provides an update on planning and coordination with Department of Transport and Planning and relevant developers in relation to the Baranduda Boulevard, Jennings Boulevard intersection and surrounding road network. The recommendation before council relates to interim speed management on Kitchener Road, the future closure of Kitchener Road to vehicle traffic once Southgate Drive extension is completed, and officers convening a multi-agency coordination meeting during the interim period. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, councillors. Councillor Knight, you'd like
Move
to...
the motion as recommended.
Councillor Knight, moving the motion as recommended. We do have a seconder. Councillor Hall, seconding it?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Knight, would you like to speak to it?
Look, I would. The only thing I have against this is it's like a bit too slow as far as I'm concerned. But unless we can get state government to throw us some money, which I did say they've put it up $28 million, their roadworks, but I doubt we'll see anything from them. That this is the best outcome that we can do at this current time. So,
thank you, Councillor Knight. Councillor Hall.
Yeah, look, it's quite a detailed recommendation. I believe this work should have been done before the new school was completed, or not less during the construction of the new school. And we're now trying to do a catch up and get something done on the run, hoping it will be completed in mid-2028, which is some time away. A meeting with all the stakeholders mentioned in the council officer recommendation will play a consultative way forward, discussing pedestrian safety in the vicinity of the Kerribana Primary School during the interim period, while detailed designs and procurement for the signalised intersection is underway. So I agree, the sooner the better, but at least we're addressing it now and it's moving forward. So.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Other councillors? Sorry, Councillor Cowan.
I have a question, Mr Mayor, and it's for the CEO or an officer. But the report identifies that there is a very high risk with potential catastrophic outcomes. I'm wondering, based on that, if I could have an explanation about the current delivery timeframe and whether that's considered proportionate to the level of risk that is being described in the report.
CEO or Director?
Through you, Mayor. Yes, the timing is considered proportionate when assessed against risk management principles, Australian guidance and Department of Transport for planning standards. A very high risk rating reflects the potential consequence of an incident and appropriately prioritises the matter, but it does not itself require immediate construction of permanent infrastructure. Council is taking immediate action through design, planning and coordination for the alternate signalised intersection, engagement with DTB developers and the implementation of interim operational controls such as speed management to reduce exposure during the interim period.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan.
I have a further question, if that's okay. I'm just wondering, are there any specific constraints that are preventing this project from being brought forward in the capital grants program?
Through you, Mayor. The constraints relate to the time taken in the design and approval process. So although Baranduda Boulevard is a local road, the signalised intersection requires Department of Transport approval for the signals specifically. This can take some time. The time associated is what the engineers and officers estimate to be an accelerated approach to construction.
Thank you, Director Milduri. Councillor Cowan, any comments?
Yes, look, based on that advice, I will support the recommendation, but I do see the need to demonstrate to our community why we're not moving faster on this, given that the report identifies a very high risk, including the potential of a catastrophic outcome, and the speed analysis shows that people are already driving too fast in that area. And we know that the higher speeds dramatically increase both the likelihood and the severity of any incident. But I understand and I support the solution, but in my view, it needs to be prioritised and brought forward as quickly as possible. And I think that pressure needs to be demonstrated. And if I could, if this motion doesn't get up, I'd like to foreshadow an alternate motion that adds those words as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Other councillors, Councillor Aldridge.
Can I just ask a question to the mover, which was Councillor Knight? Would you consider adding those words to your motion?
I'm open to them being added to the motion. I do believe that our officers are moving as quickly as they possibly can. I feel they'd probably be, we're talking about the Department of Transport and Planning again, the ones that just shall and should maybe do a better job. But yeah, I'm happy if they get added.
Councillor Hall is the seconder.
Look, to be quite honest, I think from what Officer Milduri has said, I think the council are working to prioritise this, and I don't really believe words are going to make much difference to the outcome. So
no amendment to the motion. Thank you. In the event that this fails, we can revisit it through your foreshadowing. Any other councillors? Councillor Milburn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, this is another example of where decisions by the state government have placed us in an insidious position. The school site was selected, would seem rather randomly. I'm sure there was reasons, but I don't know what they were. They may well have been reasons to try and limit the amount of cost that was incurred extraneous to the site vis-a-vis this intersection. So they will just take the site that's away from the main roads and away from these things and dump those responsibilities back onto council. That's the first thing. So this whole thing has come about, in my understanding, post the completion of the precinct structure planning and the developer contributions planning that were done for Baranduda and Eva. So this school site in itself probably wasn't included into those processes specifically. It may have been identified as a need, but not in that specific location. So there in itself is a significant impediment to our planning processes and our ability to go forward with our financial planning to make sure these things happen as they should happen where it is our responsibility. In this case, my argument is it should be a state responsibility because it was a state decision to put the school in that location. Moving on from that, there are some other things that perhaps do sit back in our court a little more. I'm a bit concerned in regard to the funding that's being organised and set in place for this project because, frankly, I don't think the funding's actually there for this project to proceed in 2 years. I think we're hoping that we pick up more money out of the development contributions pot before we get there, which, if that turns out to be an accurate reflection, then we've got some other issues that we may well have to deal with because this intersection has to be a priority. It cannot be left longer than it needs to be left, and I accept the advice we've been given that, you know, the appropriate timing is as described. But if we've got a situation here where we simply don't have adequate money in the developer contributions pot to cover it as is anticipated, then what are we going to do about it? How does this work? Where are we going to take this forward? So there's a whole range of issues that I see that still come out in front of this. So I support getting this intersection sorted as quickly as possible to solve the problem. But there's a whole bunch of things that we've still got out in front of us.
So, Councillor Milton, you flagged an issue regarding the funding and uncertainty about whether it actually is or not. Doesn't that not require some clarification in the director?
Happy to listen to the clarification.
I'm not sure whether it's Director Muldery or Director Quill who's best placed to answer that.
I'm happy to talk to that, Mr. Mayor. So the current funding in the DCP for this signalised intersection is not enough. It is noted in the recommendation that it is to be considered to be included with the 27-28 capital budget. So a further decision next year at council whether the intersection proceeds or not is there. But we do expect by the time that the intersection is constructed that the funding will be available. But it is noted as well that in the long-term financial plan, it is a listed item, so it is a funded item already in the long-term financial plan.
Thank you, Dr. Muldery. Any other councillors? When considering this matter, I did note the risk matrix on page 83. 3 of those 5 identified risk rating very high or high, with a likely or very likely, so possible or likely probability, which did influence my decision regarding this, and I will be supporting the motion as recommended. I'm going to go back to Councillor Knight as the mover. You got any closing comments on whatever reply? If not, I'm going to now put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Okay. It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Councillor Knight. Agenda item 9.6, I've declared a general conflict of interest as relatives of mine participated in that petition. I'm going to hand over the chairing to Deputy Mayor Councillor Hall, and if someone could call me when this agenda is finished. Thank you.
Okay, so we're up to item 9.6, petitions, lower speed limits and permanent pedestrian crossing. Officer Muldery, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Item 9.6 responds to 2 petitions previously received by council, one relating to speed limits within the Elmwood precinct and the other requesting a permanent pedestrian crossing on Beechworth Road. The report outlines assessment work undertaken to date and proposed stage evidence-based responses, including targeted speed reductions and further investigations of a potential signalised crossing. The recommendation before council responds to each petition and proposes speed limit reductions within the Elmwood precinct and further investigation of a potential signalised crossing on Beechworth Road. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Do I have someone who wants to move the motion? Councillor Mildery.
Motion different to the recommendation.
Okay. Yep.
I'll read the motion. Council acknowledges the petition containing 75 signatures seeking a reduction in the speed limits in and around Elmwood precinct. Councillors note that I'm jumping across number 2. Council supports the proposed reduction of speed limits in Goonan Lane, Maddox Street, Wheeler Street, Andrews Lane, Cheesley Street, McNamara Place and Elmwood Circuit from 50 kilometres per hour to 30 kilometres per hour. Next point, Council requests that actual vehicle speeds and traffic volumes on Beach Street be assessed with a further report to be presented to Council if intervention is required on those streets. 5, Council authorises the Chief Executive Officer to make formal application to the Department of Transport Planning for approval, implementation and signposting of the new speed limits. And in regard to the pedestrian crossing to Beechworth Road, 1, Council acknowledges the petition containing 94 signatures seeking the installation of a permanent pedestrian crossing with lights at the southern end of Beechworth Road. Number 2, Council authorises funding to the value of $30,000 for an investigation as part of the 27-28 budget.
That really hasn't changed point 2. Is that right?
Just the wording.
Just the wording's a little different.
Point number 2, it's taken out the in principle support and opens it up to an investigation on merit.
Do I have someone to second that motion? That's all right. Wonderful.
Thank you. Clearly, there's good reason to reduce the speed limits in the enclosed areas of the Elmwood estate and specifically those streets that were named. Those streets are probably difficult to genuinely go at high speeds anyway, but they are very close closed streets. So support for the changes in speed limits in those streets, given that they're mainly laneway with very close designed high density living, it makes sense. In terms of Rundle Street and Swan Street, I've deliberately not included those because the precedent that would set would open up Pandora's box for so many other streets across Wodonga to reduce speed limits where I think it would not be a good outcome. There are so many other streets that reflect the same as Rundle and Swan Street across our town. In terms of the deleting the bit about in principle, what we need to have done is we need to have a genuine on merits-based evaluation of all of the issues associated with a pedestrian crossing, another pedestrian crossing Beechworth Road. I see the rationale that's been underpinned the signatures and the petition. I understand the rationale for that, and I don't dispute any of those things, but I want to see the actual assessment done on merit without any persuasive influence one way or the other. Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Do you have any other councillors that wish to speak to this item? Absolutely.
Look, we've heard clearly from our community through these petitions, and people are telling us that they don't feel safe in that, and those concerns are genuine and valid. The report also confirms that there are identifiable risks in this environment, particularly for pedestrians and vulnerable road users. And importantly, proposed speed limits are consistent with the policy and are one of the simplest and most effective ways we can take to reduce the risk right now. So I can't support the position that only partially reduces the speed limits. If we accept that there is a safety issue, and I guess we do if we're partially proposing speed reductions, then we must accept that these petitioners have got genuine concerns, and our response should be consistent and coherent. Reducing speeds on only some streets while leaving others unchanged creates confusion for some drivers and inconsistency in this road environment, which is very unique and quite different to other areas that I think Councillor Mildren might be referring to. So, look, I think we should listen to our community. We had 75 petitioners here. That, you know, that's hard work for that particular cohort of our neighbourhood. We know that they're a mix of elderly and vulnerable pedestrians. So I think we've got a duty of care here to accept the recommendation of the officers.
Any councillors would like to speak to this item?
Excuse me, Deputy Mayor, I'll foreshadow an alternate motion going back to the recommendation should this fail.
Okay, well, councillor Knightley, did you want to?
Yeah, there's so many speed limits now. It's getting very, very confusing about what we've got to do in different places. And, it's you turn down one street, if you miss the sign because of an overhanging branch or, your kids screaming in your ear or something on those lines, it's pretty easy to do on some of the smaller streets nowadays. And it's not just a case of every street's 50 Ks or every street's 40 Ks. As we can see here, we've got 50, 40, 30, different school times. We're going to get different ones again. I do believe the consistency probably should be a thing. But in saying that, I concur with Councillor Mildren in that the streets that are being put down to 30 definitely require it, but the other ones don't at this stage.
Okay, I'd just like to speak before the movement. Look, I support the officer's recommendations in that it does seek a good balance in reducing the speed limits within this unique Wodonga development. I've personally had a look around. I've actually gone down the streets and had identified where I think there could be an issue. I do agree we need consistency in our town, especially in those streets around. See, Gordon Street's been kept at 50. I agree with Councillor Knight. Then you turn down one street and it's 40. It adds to the confusion. So those two streets that have been identified as Rundle and Swan, they're reasonably open streets. They are on the perimeter of the estate, and I think there's going to be a look at Beach Street, which gets assessed and be further presented to the council. It's a similar sort of street. I believe in probably still keeping them at the 50, but I do support the lower within the development itself. As for the crossing, I've had so many people in the past contact me about a crossing over Beechworth Road. It enables people to get across to the other side. There's the shopping centre and White Box. There's the school. The only other crossing is up further at Wodonga Primary School, across Beechworth Road. It's too far up. We need a crossing that is on the southern end of the Beechworth Road between the roundabout and Pearce Street. So I certainly support an investigation into how we can achieve a crossing that's going to help people, especially disabled people or young children or elderly, cross that major busy road. So I will be supporting the motion.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. There's some fundamental urban design principles and street hierarchy things that come into play with this. When you look at the streets that this motion proposes be reduced to 30 Ks, they are very close, narrow streets that are designed for very, very local access. They are not through streets in the sense of, say, Rundle and Swan or other streets that it might be further up the hierarchy like Gordon Street. There's a very distinct difference in the design and the way they're put together. And when you look at the way these design principles and street hierarchies work based on the capability, the design capability of the streets, then it's very clear that there is a delineation between the different forms of streets. And when you look at Rundle and Swan Street, they're very wide pavements. comparatively to the pavements that happen on the inside of the estate. So when you take those things into account, there's absolute common sense in the way that this motion proposes how it should function for speed limits over this area. And I think it actually achieves the outcomes that are being sought by the residents of the estate. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Please put the motion.
Put the motion. Those in favour? Those, did you jump to the name? Sorry, so Old Courty, Lee Hall. Councillor Aldridge, Councillor Nugent and Councillor Knight. Those against?
We didn't get first.
Okay, we can now bring back the mayor to take over the chairing of the meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Councillor Hall. Agenda item 9.7 is Pearce Street, House Creek to Beechworth Road, road renewal treatment. There is a recommendation there before us, but I'm going to get Director Mulderry to speak to that first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 9.7 seeks council's decision on how Pearce Street is to be treated as part of its road renewal. The report considers existing on-road bike lanes, traffic volumes, safety outcomes and community feedback, and presents a small number of clearly defined options for council's determination. The recommended option retains the current cycling arrangement with targeted safety improvements ahead of the road renewal. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Director Mulderry. Councillor Cowan. Oh, sorry, I don't know who was first there. My eyes were looking this way.
I think it was Councillor.
Councillor Aldridge, you go first. I guess the case.
Yeah, I would like to put forward an alternate motion, please, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Would you like me to read it out?
Yes, please.
Okay. Council determines that as part of the upcoming road renewal, Pearce Street will be renewed by reseal or reconstruction subject to pavement condition, with removal of the existing on-road bike lanes between House Creek and Beechworth Road. Determines that the existing footpath between the House Creek Bridge and the Beechworth-Wodonga Road intersection be upgraded to a shared path to support pedestrian and cycle movements, and notes that the road renewal and shared path works will be delivered within existing road renewal and associated footpath renewal budget lines, incorporated into Council's long-term financial plan with works to commence within 18 months.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. So that's as per the alternate. It's been provided. Would someone like to second that motion?
May I just ask a question? Oh,
Yeah. So Councillor Mildred is your hand in the seconder. So Councillor Aldridge has moved. Councillor Mildred has seconded. I'm going to get Councillor Aldridge to speak to it, and then Councillor Cowan, you can ask questions post. Or would it be okay for Councillor Cowan to ask a question now that it's been seconded? Councillor Cowan?
Simple question.
Yeah, Councillor Cowan.
Is this alternate motion option 3? As presented in the paper, yeah, that's all I wanted to clarify. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
I'm going to move to you, Councillor Aldridge, as the mover.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the boundary line of the Huon Creek Ward, I've spent a lot of time on this section of Pearce Street, both on the bike and behind the wheel. As a cyclist, I've had cars cut straight through that bike lane more times than I can count. As a motorist, I've been stuck in that congestion on Pearce Street and watched drivers make questionable decisions simply because they're trying to get through it. So when I look at the options in front of us tonight, option 3, as per the papers, is the one that genuinely reflects how people actually use this road. It determines that as part of the upcoming road renewal, Pearce Street will be renewed with the removal of the existing on-road bike lanes between House Creek and Beechworth Road. But it also upgrades the existing footpath between House Creek Bridge and the Beechworth-Wodonga Road intersection to a shared path, which provides a much safer and more appropriate facility for pedestrians and cyclists. It also delivers all of this within existing renewal budgets, which is a responsible and realistic way to deliver the works. I genuinely believe this is a fair compromise. It gives motorists a clearer and more functional road layout. It gives cyclists a safer and separated option where it's most needed. And it approves amenity for pedestrians and the local residents along Pearce Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. Councillor Mildred is the second. Councillor Hall, you'd like to speak?
Yes. This part of this is in my ward as well. And for over a year, and before this term of council, I've been advocating for the removal of this Pearce Street bike lanes. I never supported them, and when they were first adopted by the then council, to which I was a councillor back in 2021, I didn't support them back then, and it's been an issue with me for the last 5 years. It was part of the Department of Transport's on road cycling safety program. They originally to put a trial, it was for a trial period only and to be reviewed at some stage in the future. This never happened, and is why these bike lanes still remain in place today. People back then were not happy with them too. So anyway, that we've still got them. And over the years, I have had countless residents complain to me about them. I've experienced a near collision myself because of them, especially during the peak hours of traffic. I myself was nearly hit by a car near the Beechworth Road roundabout. They are a traffic hazard and they need to be removed. I'm glad the council has enabled this opportunity, if supported, to finally fix this mess up, in my opinion. The alternate motion to remove the bike lanes and replace them with a shared path for both pedestrians and cyclists is a much smarter way to construct a bike lane that is safer for cars and cyclists and people as a whole. I generally believe the bike lane should never have been constructed in the first place. If this motion is supported, it will be financed, as mentioned in the budget, through the Roads Renewal Program and Path Renewal Program in our Capital Works budget. All going to plan, the works will commence within the next 18 months. So hooray, if this motion gets up. I've only wanted it for the last 4 years, and it's great that it's finally come up to council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. All other councillors? Councillor Courty?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Even though I'll be repeating the other councillors, I just can't help myself. I wholeheartedly support the motion before us. It's been my concern, just like Councillor Hall has mentioned, for her, it's been my concern since the previous council term. I did not support those bike lanes. They are a hazard, and I'm really happy to have a shared zone and have bike lanes dealt in the way proposed. And we do have the possibility, the opportunity to allocate budget, part of our road renewal budget. So look, it's hopefully it's all going to work out much better this time. I will be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Courty. Other councillors? Councillor Cowan?
Yes, thank you. Look, I just want to acknowledge that the decision made in 2021 was with the right intent. It was about trying to improve the safety and support active transport. But before I formed my position, I will be supporting this motion tonight. I did some of my own community consultation and I had 131 responses. I might say 4 in 5 were against maintaining existing bike lane. And it wasn't because they were against cycling. It was about getting the design right for that street. So I think this option provides the most balanced outcome, and I'm pleased to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors? Before I go to Councillor Mildred, I see this absolutely as a win-win. Balancing the needs of both motorists, walkers and bike riders. Councillor Mildred, then Councillor Aldridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry. The CEO did flag with me, wanted to make a comment. And then I'll go to you, Councillor Mildred. Sorry, I forgot, CEO.
Just point of clarity, Mr. Mayor, before we get a wrap on this item from the two councillors. There is a minor difference between option 3 in the papers and the alternative that's in your yellow papers as requested. And that is that in option 3, 1 is not included. And in option 4, it includes some words around 18 months. So minor variations, I think the intent is right, but just making sure that we're very clear that there's a minor difference there, Councillor Cowan. To answer the question that you asked.
Thank you, CEO. I'm going to move to Councillor Milton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion is what the motion is. Mr. Mayor, this exercise in trials is an abomination of urban design. I don't know who came up with the concept, but in terms of urban design and the streetscape within which the people along that stretch of Pearce Street have been required to live in the last, however many years it is, it's just appalling. And the fact that we haven't been able to knock this over sooner is probably not putting us in a great light either. I don't think it should have ever been approved, but it was under the basis of some funding, and my understanding is there was other funding attached that if we hadn't have approved this, we might have run the risk of not getting other funding that was attached for other roads projects. The interesting irony is that in addition to this piece of land, there was a similar project proposed for Elgin Boulevard, which, can you imagine what Elgin Boulevard would look like right now and how functional it would be if it had been completed? Hopefully it's not still in the wings somewhere waiting to happen. Mr. Mayor, I think this motion is an absolutely perfect motion to remedy the situation we find ourselves in, and I think we should move with it as promptly and as efficiently as we can. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Milton. Councillor Aldridge is the mover.
Nothing further to add, Mr. Mayor.
I'll put the motion then. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. Agenda item 9.8 is council expense support policy. Is it you, Councillor Quill? Director Quill?
Promotion already.
Yeah, do motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This policy has previously come to the last council meeting where council resolved to place it on public exhibition. The public exhibition process has been completed. There was no community feedback received, and as a result, the recommendation is to adopt the policy as is from the previous meeting.
Thanks very much, Director Quill. We have a recommendation there before us. The mover. Councillor Hall, then second to Councillor Knight. Councillor Hall, would you like to speak to it?
Look, I haven't got much to add. It was a policy that went out for feedback March 23rd this year, and has come back, and there's been no community feedback, and is now up for decision to be adopted, to which I support. We've been through it, and believe it's the policy supports our councillor needs and objectives. So,
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Knight? Reserve. Other councillors? If not, I'd just like to make some comments. Appreciate the updating, particularly in relation to councillor duties, the removal of duplication relating to the model code of conduct, a much better clarification relating to travel and vehicle use and expenses, and also the mayoral motor vehicle amendments bringing to line with staff private use policy. So I will be supporting the motion. Councillor Knight, you reserve? No. Going back to you, Councillor Hall, as the mover.
yes.
So I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Which now leads us to agenda item 9.9, the CCTV policy. And that, who's speaking to that? Sorry. Then Director Mulderry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The item relates to a scheduled review of the council's CCTV policy, which establishes the governance framework for the use of CCTV across council managed assets. The report outlines the update made to the policy, including alignment with the Office of the Victorian Information Commissioner's binding principles for surveillance, and summarises the outcomes of the public exhibition process. The recommendation before council seeks a decision to adopt the updated CCTV policy. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Dr. Mulderry. The shortest recommendation in tonight's papers. Do we have a mover? Councillor Knight, seconder, Councillor Cowan. Councillor Knight, would you like to speak to us?
No, happy with me.
Councillor, as recommended.
As recommended, yes, sorry.
Yeah, so Councillor Cowan, would you like to speak to it as a seconder?
The draft policy has been on public exhibition for 21 days. There was 2 items of feedback. One in support of the CCTV and the other did not request any changes. So I think we can be confident in adopting the policy.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Any other?
Councillor Hall? Yeah, I'd just like to add that there were, to the original policy we did before it went out to the public, we did make a couple of changes, and that was to bring all new CCTV installations back to council for any for a determination. So that puts us in control of where they go, unless they're on our council infrastructure. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And also there was concern around facial recognition, to which is not included in this policy. So we don't support the facial recognition. So happy to support the policy. Let's come back. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other councillors? If not, I'll go back to the mover, Councillor Knight. We'll put the motion. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 9.10, Domestic Animal Management Plan 26 to 30. Dr. Mulderry, would you like to speak to that item before we go to councillors?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 9.10 presents a Domestic Animal Management Plan 2026-2030 for adoption following a period of public exhibition. The report summarises the feedback received, outlines how the feedback has informed refinements to the plan, and confirmed the plan meets council's obligation under the Domestic Animals Act. The recommendation is to adopt the plan and advise the submitters of council's decision. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Aldridge.
Thank you. I would like to move the recommendation.
Yep, as recommended. Thank you. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Cowan. Councillor Aldridge, or if you could speak to
Start the stopwatch now. I'm pleased to move the motion that Council adopt the Domestic Animal Management Plan 2026-2030 as recommended. This is a significant document for our community. It affects anyone who owns a dog or cat, anyone who works or volunteers in rescue or foster care, and anyone who simply cares about the welfare of animals in Wodonga. And for many people in our municipality, myself included, that's an incredibly important part of our everyday lives. From the beginning of this process, I wanted to make sure our next stamp would genuinely reflect community expectations. Animal management doesn't sit in a neat box. It touches safety, compassion, responsibility, resourcing, enforcement, and partnership. It is complex, and at times it is emotional. That's why the consultation phase was so critical. I want to acknowledge the depth and quality of that consultation. We heard from a wide range of community members, rescue groups, volunteers, vets, and other related professionals. I'm pleased that what is before us tonight is a stronger, clearer, and more community-focused plan than the draft we began with. The final DAMP now strengthens our commitment to working with local rescue organisations, the RSPCA, veterinary services, and neighbouring councils. It includes a clear action to pursue external funding for desexing initiatives, which is something the community consistently told us was a priority and something that will directly reduce unwanted litters and the pressure on rescues. The plan now explains Wodonga's continued use of the Albury Animal Care Centre and includes an action to investigate the feasibility of a short-stay holding facility here in Wodonga. It improves council's approach to responsible pet ownership, including clearer leash law enforcement, signage, education, and more streamlined reporting of dog-related issues, and continues the enforcement of the existing 12-hour cat curfew, while also committing to a review of curfew models in other municipalities. This ensures we remain balanced and evidence-based without rushing into a 24-hour curfew. This plan reflects what the community told us matters: welfare, safety, accountability, and compassion. I want to thank the officers who worked on this plan, as well as our dedicated rangers who carry out the day-to-day responsibilities of animal management with professionalism and heart. This stamp sets a clear direction for the next 4 years. It is practical, it is achievable, and most importantly, it responds to the lived experience of the people and animals in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Aldrich, and in time. Councillor Cowan, and then I'll go to other councillors.
Thank you. Yes, I'll be supporting the domestic animal management plan. I want to acknowledge and thank the community members who took time to make submissions and be involved in the general consultation. The feedback was very thoughtful and considered, and reflects just how much people care about their pets and the broader community that we live in. In my mind, having a pet is a privilege, and I think that what we heard from our community was that they see their pets as extremely important to their well-being. I also want to thank the staff for the work that's gone into developing this plan, and importantly for listening to that feedback and reflecting it in the final documents. One of the areas that clearly generated strong and at times mixed views was the question of cat curfew. We heard genuine concerns about welfare and practicality, but we also heard strong support for a curfew to protect wildlife and reduce nuisance cat behaviour. To me, that level of engagement tells us that it's not something to dismiss, and I'm looking forward to the cat curfew review coming back to us with that feedback and some options to consider. So overall, it's a solid plan. I'm pleased to support it too.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Councillor Hall, I think you have up to.
Yeah, look, pets are so important to our community's well-being. So, and I've always been as Fat Council, a strong advocate to try and do things better. And this policy, look, it's been a lot of work. There's been the staff and stakeholder involvement, community consultation, feedback. A lot of it has gone into this document. A lot of time has gone on behind the scenes to make it more informative and detailed. I thank everyone for the huge amount of work and resources that's been put into producing this plan for our community and pets. I totally agree, and I would like to see a short stay facility for Wodonga. It's been something I probably would have liked sooner rather than later, but it's really needed, and I hope we get an outcome with this going forward. So I concur with all of what Councillor Aldrich has said, because we know what's gone on behind the scene, and it's been a piece of work. So with the final results, and we'll be supporting this plan.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Other councillors? Oh, sorry, your hand, Councillor Quilty, was blocked by this judge. Councillor Quilty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been trying to stay quiet during the meeting to avoid adding to any disturbance due to my online presence, but I understand why you didn't notice my hand, so that's okay. Look, first of all, I would like to thank everybody who worked so hard on having the version of the plan in front of us. Especially our community members. When going to the consultation, community consultation about this domestic animal management plan, I was so impressed with the amount of work, dedication and passion that our community have demonstrated, not just coming and voicing their opinion on what's in front of them, what the council has put in front of them, but having a lot of research and data of neighboring councils and other areas to present to us and make practical suggestions. I was absolutely humbled by the amount of work, dedication and reasonableness that our community offered us in the response of our consultation. So thank you so much for that. And of course, thank you so much for the council staff who have made it all happen and put it all together. Look, overall, it's not a secret for anybody that I love traveling and seeing how things are done in other parts of the world. And I can tell you, like in global comparison to what I have seen, we're not doing too badly. We manage our animals quite well and we manage our roads quite well, trust me. But there is no end to perfection. And given that, as Councillor Cowan said, we are privileged to have the lifestyle where we can treat animals as our companions. And I think that in this area, we shouldn't be trying to go back. We should strive for the better, and we should go with the opportunity to manage pets and domestic animals as well as we can. And I'm prepared to what we have in front of us. The balance, the combination of what we have is a good one. I've never been a supporter of cat curfew, even the 12-hour cat curfew, as a former cat owner and hopefully maybe future pet owner. It sort of strikes me as a bit too much, but I see it, but that's as a person. As a councillor, I see it as a good balance. And also I've heard wild cats yelling at night or semi-wild cats yelling at night, being territorial. It's pretty terrible, especially if you have to go outside and shoot them. So yeah, while I'm on the fence about this, yeah, I will be supporting. So thanks everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney, and that was just within 3 minutes. And any other councillors? If not, I'm going to, sorry, Councillor Mildred. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My very, very old dog thinks I'm very privileged to actually have him. Mr. Mayor, this may not be the perfect plan, but it is so much better as a direct consequence of the input that we got from a range of people in our community when the consultation was first asked. They were very quick off the mark to point out things that they felt didn't meet up to standards. Yeah. And I very much appreciate the information and the work that they did to bring this plan to where it is now. It's, like I said, it may not be perfect, but it's a long way better than where it was starting from. Yeah. So I have to say thank you to all those people that got involved and played a very important role in this process. The plan leads us to a lot of outcomes where I think in the distant future, not long distant future, but in the future, we'll be looking at alternatives to the way we transport animals to Albury and the relationships we have with Albury. I think as our populations grow, as the animal numbers grow, there's going to be a whole lot of different stresses and pressures, and at some point in the future, we will have to take a close look at how we do all that, and whether that means we have to come out and bite the bullet and buy that and build our own facility. They're all things, but this plan looks at things in an orderly way, that's something that can be addressed on its merits and in a proper way into the future. So, Mr. Mayor, I support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Mildred. Councillor Aldridge wrote a reply.
And just to reiterate the work that has gone on behind the scenes with officer involvement and councillor involvement as well. It's been really fantastic that the community and council and council laws have been able to collaborate in this way to have this document that I think we can be really, really proud of. So please pass on thanks to all officers involved.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. I'm going to put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Aldridge, as the mover. Agenda item 9.1 is the Wodonga Sustainability Advisory Committee appointment of committee members. Director Mother, if you could speak to that, and then we'll go to councillors.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The item seeks council's consideration of the appointment of community members to the Wodonga Sustainability Advisory Committee. The report outlines the expression of interest process undertaken, the assessment of applicants against the charter,
Excuse me, Director. Just for those in the audience, given that we've got microphones in the room, do you mind just keeping the volume down, because that's going to relay right through the streaming? And if we could give an opportunity for Director Mulderry to speak. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. The report outlines the expression of interest process undertaken, the assessment of applicants against the charter, and the basis for recommending 8 community members for appointment. The recommendation before council seeks a decision to appoint the recommended members to the Wodonga Sustainability Advisory Committee and to progress the establishment of the committee. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Director Mulderry. I did note Councillor Knight had his hand up before I even introduced you. Councillor Knight.
Yes, I'd like to do an alternative motion, please. And that reads that the Wodonga Sustainability Advisory Committee be abandoned. 2, the council notes the Sustainability Strategy 2022 to 2026 is due for review and be deactivated. And 3, a councillor workshop be convened to inform the development of a new sustainability strategy.
Just before we get second up, CEO, have you captured that? This is not
On there.
it's not on the sheet as an alternative.
Can I ask you to just reread it
Yeah.
again?
Yep, so that's 1. The Wodonga Sustainability Advisory Committee be abandoned. Number 2, council notes. You're right.
Yep.
A sustainability strategy 2022 to 2026 is due for review and be deactivated. And 3, the councillor workshop be convened to inform the development of a new sustainability strategy.
You captured that, CEO? Yep. Thank you. So we're all clear about what the motion is. Seconder, Councillor Milburn. I'm going to then go to the mover of Councillor Knight on that. Councillor Knight.
I'd like to thank everybody that did apply to the sustainability committee. We had 22 applicants. Obviously, it was a pretty big thing. I think the timing was very bad. We're in 2026. It's we would be appointing these people for 3 years, but there's no reason that we would actually continue down that path with the review of the strategy. So that sort of tied us into a place where I didn't really feel comfortable. I believe our strategy needs to be embedded into every layer of our organisation from the ground up, not from the top down, meaning that every person is contributing to our sustainability right through from councillors to grounds people to officers and execs. And I think we do a pretty good job of it. But I think the review will make it a bit better. That's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. As the mover, seconder, Councillor Milburn, would you like to?
Reserve. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Other councillors? Councillor Cowan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't be supporting a deferral. This process is complete. Council made a decision in early 2023, of which 4 councillors in this room were party to that unanimous decision to adopt the sustainability strategy and the climate adaptation plan. 4 councillors in this room had a say in that sustainability strategy, and it's unfortunate that it wasn't until July 2025 that the charter for the Sustainability Advisory Committee was adopted. It's also regrettable that it's taken till now for that process to be brought back to council for appointment of Sustainability Advisory Committee members. I might point out that is noted in our council plan. So we had 22 applicants, and I want to sincerely thank each of those applicants for putting their hand up to generously contribute their time and their experience to our city. This level of interest reflects both the importance of this issue to our community and the expectation that council would follow through on their commitments made in a strategy adopted by this council and 4 councillors within it in 2023. Sustainability is not an option for this organisation. It's embedded in our council plan. It's embedded in our municipal health and wellbeing plan. It's in our Vision 2050. It's also reflected in our obligations under the Local Government Act and the Climate Change Act, particularly around long-term planning and community wellbeing and responding to climate risks. This committee is one of the ways we deliver on those commitments. It's advisory only and the cost is modest, and every dollar saved in sustainability measures can be reinvested back into our community. And I went to a workshop last week, and we know that young people in our community are concerned about their future. They're concerned about climate change and the environment and the kind of place they will inherit, and they are asking to be part of these conversations. We asked in good faith for this committee to stand up. This risks our reputation and credibility. If we ask our community to engage and we don't follow through, people will think twice, and reasonably so, in participating next time. We undertook a formal process that carried implicit commitment. If there are concerns, I would like to foreshadow an alternate motion, and that is that we adopt the recommendations to appoint these committee members tonight, and we come back and review this in 12 months' time. But I do want to say, if this doesn't happen, I have deep regret and real concern for the future of Wodonga.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Other councillors? Councillor Hall.
Okay, at the July 28th, 25 council meeting, the council adopted the Sustainability Advisory Committee. It was a process to go out and put a committee together. It was a casting vote decided to support the establishment of this committee. So it was a casting vote on this. The agenda report mentions that the council's sustainability strategy 2022-26 is now up for renewal. We also have a newly elected councillor on board from the by-election in October 25. Following recent discussions at councillor briefings, a summary was provided to councillors regarding an internal audit undertaken on council's climate change and sustainability framework. The audit confirmed that council has a sound strategic base in place that aligns with relevant legislative frameworks such as the Local Government Act. The audit also identified a range of positive practices, including the existence of plans, integration of climate considerations into council's risk framework, and evidence of activity occurring across the organisation in areas such as adaptation planning, asset management, procurement and emergency management. These positives demonstrate that the council has established appropriate foundations and directions in this area. Along with these strengths, the audit identified areas where the implementation and reporting could be strengthened. We can address these without the need for an advisory committee. And I believe the committee would just create more bureaucracy work for our bureaucratic work for our staff. Sustainability practices are embedded in all our council services department. And on top of this, our capital works budget program allows for, over the next 10 years, for 563,522 for energy efficient programs. So I will be supporting the motion put forward by Councillor Knight. I think we need to have another look at the new strategy that we put forward and where we go with that. Will be hopefully in a workshop that we can all discuss and have some sort of input to. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Other councillors? Councillor Quilty, then Councillor Cowan.
Questions?
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Quilty, then Councillor Cowan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, councillors, for the debate. It is very interesting. I will be supporting Councillor Knight's motion. I think it's a good one. I would like to reiterate, actually, Councillor Hall said what I was going to say. The decision about this committee was not a unanimous one. It was a casting one. So there is a difference. And for me, sustainability is not just an environmental sustainability. And I support the councillors who say sustainability should be embedded in all the facets of council work. And we talk about sustainability in not just in environmental and climate change sense, although the committee currently in front of us the committee proposal is about environmental sustainability. My deep belief is that sustainability should not just be environmental. It should be about financial sustainability, mental and physical health sustainability, and so many, many more. And with the recent changes, council made a majority decision, but dynamics of council changes, the global outlook changes, the economic situation has changed drastically in the short few months that have passed. And I believe that it will be a lot more sustainable from all the points of view, not to have this committee and to approach it in a different way. To have sustainability awareness and actions inbuilt as part of whole council work and not just focusing on climate change. I did mention mental health. I think that we are unfortunately witnessing a lot of panic that is generated in the younger generation about their future and climate change. Those under 18 who are really concerned about climate change, please contact me. I will talk to you and show some photos of the cases where human mismanagement has made a lot more damage than...
Just, Councillor Cooley, what's your point of order there?
Relevance to the motion.
I think Councillor Cooley's speaking to her rationale around why she's going to be supporting the motion. So, Councillor Cooley, if you could continue, please. And then we'll go to Councillor Carroll.
Not much more to say. Where human mismanagement has had more drastic effect on our environment than climate change, for example, the RLC phenomenon, if somebody wants to look into that or talk to me when I return. And I believe that the committee is going to do more hindrance than good in the overall sustainability of life and this council. So I'll be supporting Councillor Knight in wanting to remove it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cooley. Councillor Cowan, you've got a question?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Hall, you mentioned some of the findings of the internal audit in relation to sustainability. I just point you to the internal audit, page number 9.
Are you asking a question? Or
yes, I am. I'm asking the question. The question is, are you aware that there is a high rating for improvement relating to 2 areas, and they are that there's a lack of delivery and progress reporting on Council's climate plan and sustainability strategy commitments, and that there is a high risk in resourcing and assigned responsibilities to deliver climate action and sustainability initiatives. Are you not concerned that our council, that we're not meeting the obligations under our council?
Your point of order, Councillor Meldrum.
We're receiving comments, and we're not, and the comments should have been made by the speaker when the speaker had their turn to speak.
So I'm going to ask Councillor Cowan to specifically ask a question.
The question is, why did Councillor Hall only refer to the positive outcomes of the internal audit and not the findings where we were at high risk of fail?
I mentioned, Councillor. I said these positives demonstrated by the council have the audit a range of positive practices, including the existence of plans, integrated climate consideration, procurement. And these positives demonstrated that the council has established appropriate foundations and direction in this area. So what I said, alongside these strengths, the audit identified areas where implementation and reporting could be strengthened. So I did note that there were some issues in that audit, But I said I believe these can be addressed without the need for an advisory committee.
I'm going to call on officers to provide some feedback regarding the findings of the internal auditor as well. Dr. Cole?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The internal audit was commissioned by Council in 2025. The audit was considering whether or not Council had done a range of voluntary commitments, including its sustainability, implementing its sustainability strategy. The audit, as Councillor Hall characterised, did identify some areas where there was opportunities for improvement with respect to reporting and also resourcing, but those matters do relate to the implementation of the strategy, which is at Council's discretion. If the strategy was changed, potentially the findings of the audit would be different and the risk rating would be different. And to clarify, the audit didn't identify that the Council is in non-compliance with any law or regulation.
Thank you, Director Earl. Any supplementary questions? Councillor Cowan?
I'm aware that currently the position allocated to the sustainability officer is vacant.
Mr. Mayor.
It's just not a question.
And I'm wondering, if resourcing is the issue that we were just discussing, how the resourcing is going to be
Point of order. So, yeah, what's your point of order?
There's additional information attempting to be placed into the debate. The second thing is the questions are designed to question the speaker, a different speaker, about their motivations and their choice. They can choose to use whichever data they choose to justify their position without question from other councillors on their choice.
Mr. Mayor, my question wasn't to Councillor Hall, it was to the CEO.
Was it a question?
Yes, it was a question. It's how is the resourcing for this matter going to be considered?
Point of order.
We talked about resourcing in the summary of findings in the internal audit.
I'm going to allow the question, CEO, if you could answer the question, then I'm going to speak. Thank you.
Through the chair, the resourcing for this matter has been in place before the budget matters at the Finance and Budget Delegated Committee going forward.
Thank you. Councillor Aldridge, did you want to say something?
No, but I believe Councillor.
No, I'll reserve to speak.
Oh, yeah, great. Look, I appreciate there's a lot of interest in this item, and I respect the diversity of perspectives across the room, and I also acknowledge the fact that post the original resolution, we've had an election, the change in council dynamic and makeup with different ideologies to those that were preceded that. I do note that this expression of interest for our community to participate in this committee is unprecedented. We often talk about how difficult it is to get the community to participate in these things. 22 applications, we had a place names committee that speculated that we may not get some, but I don't believe that will be the case. I see this as being a very low cost option, $4,000 or less, to leverage the experience and knowledge and IP of our community to help provide some input into our where we move on sustainability for our community. One of the reasons that I joined council was to be part of a team that would make Wodonga a great place, a place that our kids who are here will want to stay here. Our kids that leave for work and university or TAFE want to come back to. And I do see sustainability as being a key pillar in that retention and of our youth and our whole community. As a consequence, I won't be supporting the motion. I'm going to move to Councillor Mildren for his right to reply, and then Councillor Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's a number of basic things. First is it's all about priorities and resourcing in one instance. It's also about the great track record that this organisation has and has had over a good number of years through embedded responsibility across the organisation to deliver the outcomes of sustainability that are desired. Now, the question as to whether or not what is desired meets everybody's wishes is a whole political debate, and that debate is what's been determined around the table tonight. There's a very, very strong part of our community that does not support council putting resources to sustainability in this way. And I have been approached by a number of people who've said this is just not using our resources properly, and that's the way it is. We cannot afford to create more bureaucratic activity when we have increasing costs, and they're increasing costs at council, and our community is experiencing increased costs of living. We can't just be adding bureaucracy to our processes. We cannot afford to follow the budgetary approaches taken by the state government. We must be responsible and responsive to the circumstances of change we find ourselves in. Clearly, the definition of what is sustainability may well be changing as a result of decisions that get made. The fact of the matter is we have a very good track record of getting value for money on the sustainability front through the things that we've been doing in the last probably decade. So, and that's been done very efficiently and in a manner that hasn't created a whole bunch of additional jobs, bureaucratic jobs in our organisation, and it's been done very successfully. So I support the motion, and I think we should be taking a different tack, and I think the new strategy that we will prepare will take a different tack and will be still delivering sustainability in a more a better way that reflects the circumstances and the change we find ourselves in. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Milton. Councillor Knight is the mover.
This is a very emotional debate, and on that note, I think I stated most of what I wanted to say at the front end of this debate, and I don't really want to get involved in any tit for tat. So put it to the vote.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. We'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour, that'd be Councillor Knight, Councillor Milton, Councillor Aldridge, Councillor Quilton, Councillor Hall. All those against? Councillor Cowan, Councillor Goble. The motion is carried. Thank you, Councillor Knight. Agenda item 10 is a report for noting, and there are none. I'll have a set. No. Agenda item 11 is reports for information. The record of council, just forgive me. Record of council meetings, 11.1. Is for information only. Any questions or comments? If not, we'll move to 11.2, which is the decisions register. Any questions or comments on that? Again, for information only, but an opportunity for councils. Which then leads us to agenda item 12, notices of motions. There are none. Leading us now into general business. Are there any items there that councils want to raise under general business? If not, if I could just a big shout out to our Young Achievers Scheme Award winners from February. So 3D Lanes Juniors, a junior 10-pin bowling team competing at the National Junior Championship on the Sunshine Coast in April. Reese Brown and Abby Brown, the BMX National Championship held in Shepparton in April. Max Loftensteiner, 2026 Hockey Australia Under-16 Championship held in Hobart in April. And Billy Stewart, the New Zealand Band Championship held in Wellington, New Zealand in April. Congratulations to all those. And Deputy Mayor, you...
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get the gig to give these great young Wodonga people their awards and have a chat to them, and they're all high achievers, and they all have a story that I feel very proud as a councillor that we're able to help assist them with their story going forward, their activities going forward, and continue at that high level of performing for our community and for themselves. They're all great young people, and it's really a privilege to meet them all and have a chat. So I think it's a great award actually, and I think it does. And they're all very appreciative of the support that the council provides in this YAS award. So great to continue with this award. And I think it's a great opportunity. You're not doing it in front of the council chamber. I think they felt a little bit more relaxed. It was probably more of a time that suited, you know, the young ones. And I think we'll continue maybe to do it that way. Yeah.
Thank you for stepping in there, Deputy Mayor. Oh, sorry. Councillor Aldridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to give a congratulations to Wodonga RSL for their running their Anzac Day events. And I think all councillors, with the exception of Councillor Quilty, who's overseas at the moment, we all had the opportunity to go and see the unveiling of the new soldier statues at the Cenotaph. So these statues, they recognise both those who served in World War I and those in the more recent conflict. So you've got a modern day soldier up against a World War I soldier. It was amazing to see. And that whole area down there now, it's so vibrant, but you just walk through there and it just gives us a real sense of meaning. It's beautiful. And yes, sending a big congratulations out to Wodonga RSL for all the work that they've done in that project. And council had an involvement as well. Support. So
yeah. Thank you. Good shout out, Councillor Aldridge. Great morning and afternoon, and the statue absolutely love the symbolism.
And it seems to be growing and growing every year. The support for
huge turnout both in the morning and the afternoon.
Yeah.
A huge turnout. And I think growing every year. Any other business, general business items? If not, then we'll move on to urgent business. And there is an item that's been raised. We've got a procedural motion there that an item of urgent business to be considered and be included in the agenda as item 14.1. And it's to do with the unlocking of the strategic sites program, Wodonga Golf Course. I could have a mover for that motion for it to be considered. Councillor.
Yeah. This is an urgent business, is it?
This is urgent business.
Okay, so I'll have to declare a conflict of interest in this.
Yeah.
It's a material because I own property on the backs adjacent to the golf course, and so I have declared a conflict in that. You want me to move?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Could I have a mover for the motion for the item to be considered? Councillor Cowan, thank you. And a second, Councillor Knight. All those in favour? That's carried. So we've carried unanimously. So on that urgent business item, Councillor Cowan, did you have a motion there?
Yes, thank you, I do. It is item 14.1 of Unlocking Strategic Sites Program, Wodonga Golf Course. The council resolves to request that this Chief Executive Officer immediately write to the Victorian Department of Transport and Planning, seeking that the state government, 1, promptly provide clear and detailed information to the public on the process, assessment criteria, and indicative timelines for applications under the Unlocking Strategic Sites Program. 2, ensure early and proactively inform and seek input from the community. There's a mistake in the word ensure early.
Input?
Ensure
Intervention.
Information.
I might have to look at the original. There's an error. Ensure early
Information, I think that was
information. Okay. Proactively inform and seek input from, there's definitely an error in this.
Do you want to just pause, Councillor Cowan? Have you got the original wording there, CEO?
Thank you.
Just try and pull that up.
Let's change.
In the absence of that,
All
have
right,
you got a suggested alternative? Councillor Cowan.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Ensure early, proactive and ongoing engagement with the community and relevant stakeholders in relation to the program. And 3, provide regular public updates on the progress and outcomes of the applications under the Unlocking Strategic Sites program.
Is everyone clear on that? I am. Good. Thank you, Councillor Cowan as the mover. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Knight. Thank you. Councillor Cowan, would you like to speak to it?
Thank you. Yes. Look, I think our community were shocked to read the advice that was first announced in the Sydney Morning Herald, I might, and The Age, announcing that the 7 sites were chosen as strategic sites, and one of those was Wodonga Golf Course, for consideration under the Department of Transport and Planning program of unlocking strategic sites. And it was insinuated that this land was surplus. So I'm bringing this motion forward as urgent business because this issue is already creating uncertainty in our community, and we can't afford to wait around for clarity. We want to hear directly from the Department of Transport. The inclusion of the Wodonga Golf Course in the Unlocking Strategic Sites program has very real implications for places that people value. And right now, there is not enough clear or accessible information about how this process will unfold. Our community is asking questions, and rightly so, about what this means, what happens next, and whether they will have a genuine opportunity to be heard. At the moment, we don't have those answers, and that lack of transparency risks eroding trust. And as councillors, we have a responsibility to act early, not after the decisions have already progressed. This motion is a practical step. It asks the state government to be clear about the process, the criteria and the timelines, and to engage properly with our community and to provide regular updates. And I want to be clear, I will stand with our community to ensure that they are informed and involved and have a very real say in the decisions that affect them. So I will be very keen to see the proposal coming forward that reflects our community's expectations. This is about transparency, accountability and respect for the people we represent. I ask fellow councillors for your support in that.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan as the mover. Councillor Knight as the seconder.
While I concur with Councillor Cowan on the respect, transparency, we've got to remember we're dealing with the Victorian Department of Transport and Planning again. My favourite one. Maybe if they spent more time planning, it wouldn't be so bad. But yeah, I think we have a right for our community's sake to get more information. This has been another Department of Transport and Planning own goal.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. I'm going to open up to other councillors. Councillor Aldridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I feel like the DTP really does have a moral responsibility to affected residents in this situation. The lack of transparency throughout this whole process has been very concerning. And I stand with the community to get the answers they rightfully deserve in this situation.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. Any other councillors? Councillor Meldrum.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's no doubt that this will unfold into a bureaucratic process that will be frustrating. It'll change and it'll move and it'll deflect and there'll be all the normal things that go with these sort of processes. And I have some experience about how these things function and how they work. I think it's vitally important that we pursue the things that are said in this motion, but it is equally or perhaps even more important that we are very, very careful that we don't put a stake in the ground too early. If we aren't able to be fleet of foot and to be able to move as the processes move in front of us and as the politics unfolds, then we're probably not doing the service to our community that we should be doing. So, yes, I accept and agree with this, but we need to be very careful as council how we proceed in terms of this process. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Milton. Any other councillors? Councillor Courty, do you have any comments? No.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, while I do believe that community needs more clarity and we don't need more uncertainty and keeping us in the sort of fog as sometimes happens with the state government, but with our state government, I agree with Councillor Mildred that we need to move forward carefully and be agile and follow the events as they unfold. But I will be supporting the motion, just with the caution to all of us to be agile and attentive here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Courty. I too will be supporting the motion, but I'd also like to acknowledge the work that staff's done today in trying to seek greater clarity and transparency from the department with what I think is a very comprehensive list of questions, which I know has been provided to the department, and we look forward to a comprehensive response to that, those questions. I'm going to go back to Councillor Cowan for her right of reply and then put it to a vote.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I don't want to add much more except to say that I do want to make this clear that this matter was initiated by the private owner of the golf course. It did come as a surprise to the Wodonga Council. I accept the concern about agility from other councillors, and I expect that fuller information will support our agility. So I'm looking forward to that as soon as possible for our community.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. I'll put in the motion to a vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. I'm going to invite Councillor Hall back into the meeting. And just wait for her to come because we've got confidential business coming up. Thank you, Councillor Hall. We have moving to confidential business, a recommendation that the meeting be closed to members of the public in order to consider matters.
Can I ask a question about confidential business before we move to that closure of the meeting?
Yes.
There's an item 17.6. Unfortunately, you've declared a conflict.
15.6.
15.6. Beg your pardon.
Yeah.
You've declared a conflict of interest in this matter. So
You want me out of the room?
I imagine I have to ask this question without you in the room.
Okay. I'm assuming so too. Not knowing what the question is. I'll leave it to the chair. You can call me back. Thanks.
If it's a confidential item, would it be better to empty the room?
It's actually about the challenge whether or not this item is confidential. So I'd just like to put the question, Deputy Mayor, about the statutory test under section 3.1 subset A has been satisfied. I'm seeking clarification on the grounds that this item is being considered in a confidential session. The report references council business information and potential to prejudice commercial negotiations. I'm struggling to identify what specific commercial negotiations would be prejudiced by discussing this matter in an open session. Can I please seek an explanation of why the specified ground is applied and how it prejudices council's position in commercial negotiations?
Okay, thank you, Councillor Khan. Through to yourself.
So it's 15.3, wasn't it?
15.6.
15 points. So council business information, prejudice council's position, commercial negotiations. So there is a quote for works that are being assessed here, and that includes some further information being procured, and that's why we have assessed it as being under that category. And I can't reveal the nature of that, otherwise I'll be revealing the nature of confidential.
I understand, CEO. Is it not true that we've had an open meeting where council has agreed to the procurement? So I can't understand how we would
If you
be.
look at the resolution on that matter, it didn't contain this matter, hence why this is now listed in confidential. So the original report was in the open session. There's been a request of the CEO through the Health Alliance Committee to include additional information, and that additional information is why it's now classified in confidential.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, CEO. So we'll bring back.
I suggest Councillor Cowan might need to be asked if she's proposing to move the motion to bring it out. Is that
Well, I have to accept the advice that's been provided to me. I still. I'm not sure how it prejudices the commercial negotiation.
Well, we're not here to just define whether that is. It's the CEO has provided a commentary, information around this.
Yes, as we put it in put together the agenda, and I'm confident that's the reason there. The risk is if councillors choose to move it out of confidential, that we will breach some provisions there and cause some other issues, of which I haven't evaluated because I put the agenda together on that basis, considering it would be a confidential item.
Oh, that literally just asked my question.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So that's answered Councillor Cowan's question. And we move forward. We'll get our mayor back to finish chairing.
it's a hot seat tonight?
It's hard not stopping there. Extension today.
So back to where we were. We've got a recommendation that the meeting be closed to members of the public in order to consider matters pursuant to section 3, section 1, the Local Government Act 2020, and that the meeting be adjourned for 2 minutes to allow the public to leave the chamber. Got the mover, please. Councillor Knight, second to Councillor Hall. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, those in the public, for attending and online. Agenda item 17.3 is public release of information, and the CEO is to read as per recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In relation to the closed items considered by council for item 15.2 Wodonga Racecourse Service Management Agreement, the public component of the recommendation is that the CEO be authorised to negotiate, finalise, and execute the provision of the management services of Wodonga Racecourse Precinct contract on behalf of council. In relation to item 15.3, Logic Land Sale Enhanced Officer to purchase lot 2 on PS 922847. The public recommendation is that subject to a heads of agreement being entered into and generally in accordance with the key terms set out in paragraph 6 below, and subject to council complying with its statutory obligations regarding the proposed sale of land under section 114 of the Local Government Act 2020 and the proposed discontinuance and sale of road under section 207A and 223 of the Local Government Act 1989. Council proposes to sell the land comprising lot 2 on PS 922847W lot 2 and the land shown hatched in the plan annexure A, being the part of the road in the certificate title volume 11607 folio 549 road, lot 2 on road together referred to as land to the proponent. 2, that subject to a heads of agreement being entered into in accordance with paragraph 1, council directs that pursuant to section 223 of the Local Government Act 1989 and section 114 of the Local Government Act 2020, public notice of the proposed discontinuance and sale of the road be given and community engagement for the proposed sale of lot 2 be undertaken. 3, that if at the end of the public consultation process there is no submissions in respect to the proposal, council delegates authority to the Chief Executive Officer to decide on behalf of council whether or not to proceed with the proposal and to negotiate and sign on behalf of council the contract of sale for the land and any other documents in accordance with the key terms set out in paragraph 6. 4, the council authorises the Chief Executive Officer to negotiate and enter into on behalf of council heads of agreement in respect to the proposal. 5, the key terms of heads of agreement are as follows. A, price of the sale of the land to be 7.6 million plus GST. Deposit, a deposit equal to 3.5% of the price shall be payable on the day of the sale. C, settlement at the latter of 1, 30 days after the date of the planning permit for the furniture warehousing and distribution facility, and 2, 30 days after council has obtained title to the discontinuance of the road. G, as a condition of the contract, the proponent must enter into a section 173 agreement to be registered on the title to the land to provide that the owner must not allow any consumers to attend at the land to view, purchase or collect retail goods. E, as a condition of the sale, council agrees to enter with proponent based on the terms in paragraph 7 of this resolution. 6, the council agrees to provide a rate concession to the owner of the land under section 169 of the Local Government Act 1989 to assist the proper development of Logic Industrial Estate in Baranduda North, commencing on the settlement of the contract of sale as follows. A, year 1 and 2, 100% discount. Year 3, 4 and 5, 30% discount, subject to the owner agreeing to delivering the following community benefits. Completion of the construction of the warehouse and distribution facility on the land within 2 years of settlement, investment of at least 30 million into the warehouse and distribution facility on the land within 2 years of settlement, and employment of approximately 100 people at the Logic Industrial Estate within 3 years of settlement. 7, the council authorises the Chief Executive Officer to undertake all necessary processes in respect to the proposed discontinuance and sale of the road and the sale of the land, including signing and transfer of any documents required to be signed in connection with the discontinuance of the road and the sale of the land. Item 15.4, opportunity site 200 Baranduda Boulevard, expressions of interest assessment. The public recommendation that council note the consideration of the expression of interest for the sale of the council-owned land in Baranduda Boulevard Growth Corridor has been deferred and shall remain deferred pending the receipt of the consideration of independent governance advice. I'll refer to the Director of Corporate to take the next item.
In relation to item 15.5, which is the minutes for the CEO Employment and Remuneration Advisory Committee, the public recommendation is that the minutes of the CEO Employment and Remuneration Advisory Committee meeting held on March 26, 2026 be received and noted.
Thank you, Director Quinn. For item 15.6, legal advice, strategic advisor, Health Alliance, the public recommendation is that council confirms its risk appetite statement and does not proceed with increasing the scope of procurement on behalf of the Albury Wodonga Regional Healthcare Alliance. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, CEO. Which leads us now to the close of the meeting and agenda item 17.4. I'd like to declare the meeting closed precisely 9:07 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone, staff, councillors, those who joined us online and in the chamber.